YouTube algorithm, thank you so much for recommending my my video when Utopia wasn't there to so many people, because it got 1,000 views in a good time. And Hickory Town Heroes used to be the most popular source of viewership income, but now it's Amphibia, because my video about sugar music and Amphibia that actually it finally passed. Sugar music and Amphibia finally passed. I really wish Twinkle got to be Hickory Town Hero for the most popular YouTube video on my channel. So yeah, I'd just like to say a big heartfelt thank you to the entire cast of Hickory Town Heroes and Amphibia, the casting crew of Hickory Town Heroes and Amphibia, and of course Disney Channel and Disney Junior for all the views and subscribers to help me get. I'm so glad you didn't copyright claim me for making original jokes about you and as well as some clever commentary and putting old scenes into a new content. Yeah, I think in the Amphibia episode, Cracking Mrs. Croker, she was mentioning the widow, which is why I sort of thought that maybe a year before Snow Day, Mr. Croker was likely one of the characters taken away by the giant raptor squirrel. And whatever happened, she's Mrs. Croker. Whatever happened to Mr. Croker? It's kind of the same question you'd ask about Mrs. Crabapple and Mr. Crabapple in Simpsons, or Mrs. Puff and Mr. Puff in SpongeBob SquarePants. Mr. Krabs actually did Mr. Krabs directly asked that question, and then Krusty loved the first SpongeBob episode with Mr. Puff and Mr. Krabs missing episode. Oh yeah, so speaking of SpongeBob, that's actually in Talk's video, but not for any episodes with stuff in it. Today, I'm going to talk about the SpongeBob SquarePants episode. This week on YouTube, I want to talk about the SpongeBob SquarePants episode, Welcome to the Chum Bucket, because just like when Sugar Music Amphibia has over 5,000 views now. Yeah, it's a funny video. I'm actually coming out with an updated version of it with clips on June 17th, because it's the 3-year anniversary of Amphibia. Okay, so back to SpongeBob, and welcome to the Chum Bucket. Mr. Krabs likes playing cards against his sworn enemy, Plankton, because he always wins, but unfortunately it turns out to be an evil man tricked by Plankton, because Mr. Krabs became too overconfident and bet SpongeBob's employee contract with him, not knowing that hoping that he actually wouldn't lose this game this time around. And that's how he lost SpongeBob to Plankton and Welcome to the Chum Bucket. And Plankton's really happy about this, because even though he never got to steal the Krabby Patty formula, he does have the next best thing. He can order because now he can order SpongeBob to make Krabby Patties for him. And the worst part is, Plankton didn't even win SpongeBob's contract fair and square. He cheated when he saw Mr. Krabs come over confident and bet his contract with SpongeBob. Now this is where I have to disagree with. Having actually rewatched Welcome to the Chum Bucket for this video, spoilers ahead, I I had to disagree with James Palmer on a lot of stuff he said about the Krusty Krab conglomerate nightmare. I mean, he mostly talks about the pre-movie seasons, and with the exception of like when he has, Mr. Krabbyland, Express Strike, Mr. Krabs never really. I mean, he does have a few bad episodes of season 6 and 7, but Mr. Krabs never. I know Mr. Krabs was always a great pirate, but he never struck me as a kind of boss who had no morals or ethics. And I know Mr. Krabs didn't just see SpongeBob as a commodity and Welcome to the Chum Bucket because he was generally regretful about losing his SpongeBob play contract with Plankton after he came overconfident. He didn't really view SpongeBob as a commodity. He still really wanted SpongeBob back after losing him in Welcome to the Chum Bucket and Patrick and Krabs and learning the mistake that he made. Squidward talked some sense to Mr. Krabs and Patrick and Krabs, and Mr. Krabs realized that even if he could have gotten more than 63 cents from Flying Dutchman, no amount of money is worth giving away SpongeBob SquarePants ever. Which is why we all hate SpongeBob. You're fired for slandering Mr. Krabs into such a blithering idiot. Yeah. Trying to save a nickel, like firing SpongeBob. Go back to Welcome to the Chum Bucket. Okay, forget a bunch of your fire. Okay, in Welcome to the Chum Bucket. Yeah. But yeah, despite all the danger he was in with working for Plankton, SpongeBob SquarePants stayed resilient and valiant because he always because when he proved his loyalty to SpongeBob in Welcome to the Chum Bucket, SpongeBob proved his loyalty to Mr. Krabs by always. This is a really funny thing. He always refused to make Krabby Patties for Plankton, no matter what. He weaponized his power of annoyance to get Plankton to want SpongeBob to get Plankton to want to give SpongeBob away to Mr. Krabs. We gave Mr. Krabs $50 to take SpongeBob and his employee contract back. Yeah, I think it's really funny how, no matter how comfortable Plankton made SpongeBob, he's still, even giving him an exact replica of the Krusty Krab kitchen, he still refuses to make Krabby Patties for Plankton. See, gang, see bosses, this is why worker intention and loyalty to your employees and employees' loyalty to you is very important. If you actually help each other out, they're less likely to want to quit. And that's why SpongeBob will never ever make Krabby Patties for Plankton, because he definitely doesn't want to let them have things. And that's when Plankton did the scary, unthinkable thing of putting SpongeBob's brain in a robot and control the robot to make Krabby Patties for SpongeBob. Plan probably would have had a better chance of succeeding if he actually got, if he tried to put a rope, or if he instead tried to put a robot's computer chip in SpongeBob's body, because then he could control the robot brain in SpongeBob's body to make the Krabby Patties, I guess. Okay, well maybe that would be so effective if the robot doesn't know. Alright, yeah, the point is, SpongeBob knows how to make Krabby Patties, so that's why Plankton tried to get him to put his brain in a robot and control the robot and get the robot to make Krabby Patties, but Plankton ignored Karen's warning. She warned him that never works. Putting SpongeBob's brain in the robot's body didn't actually help SpongeBob make any Krabby Patties. Even no matter how much you can control the robot's arms, no matter how much control Plankton has over the robot's arms, the non-robot brain inside it still says no. That's why Plankton never. That's why SpongeBob will never make any Krabby Patties for Plankton, and Plankton had to give him back up to the Krabs because SpongeBob has an undying loyalty to SpongeBob doesn't want to portray to be his boss. He's going to Krabs, and it shows. You know what I mean? Before season 6 and 7, underrated Mr. Krabs into being as corrupt and power hungry as Mr. Burns. It's nice how even though SpongeBob SquarePants parents occasionally visit him, it's nice to see Mr. It's always nice to see Mr. Krabs act as a father figure to SpongeBob and Mr. Mr. Krabs grew up poor, and he serves in the Navy, and he's a single father rescuing a single father is to raising a spoiled teenage daughter by himself. So it's not hard to see how. It's not hard to see how miserable Mr. Krabs would be if he took SpongeBob for granted, right? And no, even in his worst episodes, I have to disagree with you on another thing, James Palmer. Even in his worst appearances, Mr. Krabs would never, even in his worst appearances, even his worst of the worst, Mr. Krabs never crossed the line of trying to remove SpongeBob's brain and put it in a robot to make the patties for him. Because Mr. Krabs is not as rich or powerful as Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, so President Nicholas, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that too, because Mr. Krabs being as rich and successful as Jeff Bezos, because one, he only has one Krusty Krab. It's not a big chain like Amazon, and it's not until the SpongeBob SquarePants movie at the end of the series when we even have a second Krusty Krab. And two, Krusty Krab doesn't have such a high turnover rate like Amazon because, well, in both good and bad SpongeBob episodes focusing on Mr. Krabs, in good episodes focusing on him like born again Krabs and selling out, and even in bad episodes like Squid on Strike, Krabby Land, or SpongeBob You're Fired. He can't, they all, in those types of episodes, Mr. Krabs can't mistreat his employees without facing serious consequences and repercussions for it, because it's hard for his business, because even though Krusty Krab has had at least 2 fry cooks in it before SpongeBob, as shown in the original fry cook in Truth or Square. yeah, it's not. Yeah, the thing is, it's not. What I'm trying to say is, it's not really easy for Mr. Krabs to replace SpongeBob and Squidward and be just as successful without them. Because he doesn't have as much money and power as Mr. Burns or Bezos, or Elon Musk, or Mark Cuban or Mark Zuckerberg, that's why. So yeah, SpongeBob SquarePants is too loyal to Mr. Krabs to ever work for Plankton, and Chum Bucket Supreme and Chum Fricassee have both shown that Plankton has much better luck with hiring Patrick and Squidward. When they were Plankton's sole employee in those episodes, they weren't so resilient, and for a few weeks each, they both found their own ways to help out Plankton's business without making Krabby Patties like he wanted SpongeBob to do. Patrick had him using slogans, and Squidward had his grandma's Chum Fricassee recipe, which actually was good at making chum delicious by cooking it for 24 hours. Until Squidward messed it up because he got impatient and decided to only let it cook for 23 hours, so that their customers wouldn't have to wait an entire day for a new serving. Which is not bad for them in the long run, because they got very angry at Squidward for feeding them undercooked chum. And Squidward got his comeuppance for the undercooked chum at the end, when the grandma poked his foot twice with her wonker, and he became the Krusty Krab doormat. And that's the end of my commentary on Welcome to the Chum Bucket. I mean, yes, James Palmer was right to call out Mr. Krabs doing some other bad things, like getting SpongeBob and Squidward to take the Employee of the Month award too seriously in Employee of the Month, or forcing them to work 24 hours a day in graveyard shift, and fear of a Krabby Patty. But Pie Guy Rules has shown me, and hopefully also James Palmer, that Mr. Krab isn't really an interesting character to watch when you make his entire personality revolve around money. And in both his good episodes and his bad episodes, it's hard for him to be successful by replacing SpongeBob and Squidward when he tries to do that. You know, definitely thankful that trying to replace them or mistreat them never works out for him. Like, even out of the picture, I was kind of scary, because he's deviously made the Squidward, but I guess I can sort of see why Mr. Enter liked it, because in the end, Mr. Krabs also hurt himself in the process of trying to hurt Squidward, and they got stuck on a wall and it became a war and peace. Anywho, those are all my thoughts and commentary on Welcome to the Chum Bucket. I'm very sorry if this video got too long.